What's going on? This is the rotation with Mike and John. We're back for another week. Mike, how you doing tonight?
Doing well. Ready to talk some baseball. Ready to talk our Yankees and the league in general. It's been a fun week, and ready to get back into it. How about
Heck
you?
yeah, man. Heck yeah, man. We had a great weekend of baseball. We had our Yankees take the series against the Dodgers, which is always nice to see. And sorry for missing last week, everyone. Was down with a little sick as I'm still a little congested, but Mike took the reins from Mike's call to the bullpen. We brought in our closer, our ace over there. Bring in the
Aces. Bring a lefty.
aces.
Who's lefty? Are any of us left-handed?
Well, I can hit both ways, so. But
I can't. I'm straight
so
ready.
so Mike, the
Mhm.
Yankees last week have had a really good month of May and started off June really well. What are your thoughts on the Yankees so far?
Yeah, they were going over it during. I can't remember. I think it was one of the Dodger games. It might have been the one on Friday on or Friday or Saturday on Fox.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that they started off, I think it was 14-12 in April. Very just
Mm-hmm.
kind of, you know, we talked about it back then where it was like win one day, lose the next, win, loss, win,
Right.
loss. It was just go back and forth. May, they seemed to really turn it around. I think, honestly, I think a lot of it was Judge returned to form after a little bit of an injury. Bader came back before he got unfortunately hurt again, and he was kind of a spark. Volpe's continuing to develop as a player, and just the depth they've shown a surprising amount of depth, whether it be Willie Calhoun, Jake Bowers,
All right.
Kyle Higashioka being a great backup catcher. Like they have depth, which I think has been good, and the pitching is finding its way for the most part. What do you think?
Our ace is being our ace, and he is 7-0 now, and he's pitching well. Like right, like he's dominating. Had some
Mhm.
cramps in the game yesterday, but I mean, it was 95 on the mound. But he's got to take care of that. He's usually better with that with his nutrition and whatnot. So
Yeah, yeah.
when it comes down to it, I'm not really worried about him. The rest of the rotation, Rondon, I pitched today, as in Monday, June 5th. Um, he pitched 30 pitches and is going to see live batting here in the next few days, which is positive, right?
Yes,
But then what happens next? Nasty Nestor goes down on the 10-day
of
for either
course.
missed two starts. So, it just seems to be the common theme to this year so far. Hopefully, it doesn't stay consistent, but it should. Well, you're right. The end of May, from the halfway point of May, when they had that Toronto series, they beat the Toronto Blue Jays, and they won that series.
Mhm.
Swept the Reds. Ended up losing the series to the Baltimore Orioles, but then beat three tough West Coast opponents in San Diego, Seattle, and Los Angeles. Those are three great series
Mhm.
that the pitching was on point, the bullpen was rocky, but the bats were flying, which I would love to see. And our captain, Mr. Judge, is in full MVP form. And everyone
Mhm.
keeps talking about Shohei, but no one's talking about Mr. Judge. He's missed 11 games, and his numbers are near what he was at last year around this time.
Right.
Imagine if he was in those 11 games.
Right. Exactly.
So it's very interesting to me to see the Yankees as far as they are right now. But I'm expecting them to ultimately go through these lulls through the season. Right, we're
Mhm.
in June. I can't believe it's already in June. We got the
I
White
know, right?
Sox coming up, Red Sox, Mets, Red Sox, Seattle. So it's going to be a tough end of June, but I
Mhm.
think it's going to be a true test that they need. Um, what are your thoughts on our young guys though? Jake Bowers, Anthony Volpe, Willie Calhoun. All those guys are stepping up big where you need them to.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, the depth has been great, especially with the young guys. I mean, Volpe's locking down, the shortstop position. He'll continue to develop. The average obviously isn't where you want it to be, but it's he's a kid. Like you got to give him
That's
time.
from a that's from a slow start though.
Right. He's
From
been
May,
better
if
of
you
late. Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at his May stats all the way, and I'll pull it up here right now, but if you
Mhm.
look at his stats in May and whatnot, you'll see his stats continue to rise over the course
Mhm.
of the season. So, like looking right here, Continue on your point. I'll bring this up
Yeah,
in a
so outside of Volpe, because obviously that's the number one name everybody looks at as far as young players for the Yankees because he's
minute.
so highly touted and he's a starter. But I've been liking what Oswaldo Cabrera can bring. I've been liking Bowers and Calhoun, and some of those younger guys. Some of the young pitchers I think have been really good. I'm a big Ron Marinaccio fan. I have been since last year. Ron Marinara sauce. I think he's going to be a great relief pitcher for long term. I always makes me laugh calling him that. But and I'll say this: someone that has not been up with the team yet, but looks poised to join the team at some point this year and contribute at a high level is Oswald Peraza. He's been tearing it up in AAA. I'm excited to see him when he finally, because he'll get a shot. He'll get a shot somewhere. So I'm excited.
Yeah. For sure. Well, ultimately our Yankees are playing well right now. Hopefully they continue that. And who knows? Maybe they make a run for first place, but they got to get over that hump with Baltimore. Baltimore seems to be their kryptonite this year so far. So hopefully they get over that. But let's get into it, bro. We got our 5 takes of the week. If you haven't, this is your first episode, Mike and I are going to do 5 takes, aka the rotation. Rotation is 5 pitchers. We're going to give our 5 takes. Let us know what you think are, and let's just jump right into it. Mikey Mike, what's your first take of the week?
My first take of the week is a player that is a little close to home for you, which is that Luis Arraez may be the best 4-contact hitter in the major leagues.
What do you mean by 4?
Like, so there's, you can kind of separate good hitters into 2 different categories. There's 4-contact hitters and 4 power hitters. There's guys that predominantly hit home runs, and then there's guys that predominantly hit for average. So as far as like the 4 average, because Arraez is not a big power threat. He's not a power and average threat, but his average threat is incredible.
He gets on base. That's all that you can ask from a guy like that, right? So you look at a guy like that, and he's going to get on base for you. He's gonna go do the small things that you need him to do for a team. And he was on the Twins last year, right? Or the White Sox.
Yes. He was on the Twins in the offseason. It was a 1-for-1 trade with the Marlins. It was Arraez for Pablo Lopez. Twins needed pitching. Marlins wanted hitting, so they just swapped.
I'm surprised they did that because that was a weird move in my opinion. But he's hitting the shit out of the ball.
It came, I believe, around the time that they were starting to seriously talk to Correa again. So
yeah, that's true. So they probably needed probably needed more of a cap space.
Yeah, but so for record, because I'm a stats guy, Arraez right now is leading the major leagues with a .392 batting average in June. That's incredible. And also, I found this out today. Don't take it with a grain of salt, but I saw the stat that now through his first 444 career games, Arraez has 524 hits, is hitting .324 with a 383 slugging percentage and a .419 on base percentage. For context, through their first 444 career games, Tony Gwynn had 526 hits, .324, .374, .411, and Pete Rose, the MLB's all-time hits leader, 506 hits, hitting .286, .347, .385 slash line. So he is on pace to be a better hitter than Pete Rose.
Wow,
if he plays that long.
I mean, look at like Tony, like they said, there's not a lot of guys like Tony Gwynn and Pete Rose, all those guys that are going to play the small ball. I watched Luis Arraez play in person down here in Miami, a few games here, and he does what you need him to do. He gets on base, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's my biggest pet peeve with MLB players is they always just try to go for the long ball, and I get it, right? It's fun and everything like that, but you need a guy on your team that. I would love for the Yankees to go trade for him this year.
Oh, absolutely.
Let him go get on base, and let him get like in play the 9-hole, and have your 9th hitter be a .330 hitter.
Yeah.
Right. And like one of the things I heard Aaron Boone say this past season so far is he goes, because he was talking to John Boy and talking Yanks, and they basically said, we got a guy in the 9th hole. Why do you got him there? Like, I think it was Gleiber one day. And he's like, I'm so tired of hearing about the 9 hole. It's not because they're bad or hitting bad. It's because I think the potential of them getting on base for our big guys is a lot higher. So
Right.
I think the 9-hole being in the shit position is way overrated than it ever has been, because everyone in MLB can pretty much get a hit or get on base. So
Right.
those guys, that's who you want. You want guys on base. You want Aaron Judge coming up with 2 guys on, where you get a potential 3-run home run, or he drives those guys in.
Right.
So that would be perfect. I mean, Arraez would be perfect on a team like that to get, and I can see him getting dealt at the deadline.
Yeah, unless the Marlins are really still in contention for the division, which they're not that far out as it is right now. But the Braves are very good, so we'll see where they sit by the deadline. But if not, he's one of the top pieces you can sell for a good amount, I think.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, that's what it's going to come down to, right? Like, can the Marlins keep this consistency like they did in 2020 when they made the playoffs? I mean, they're in second right now. They're 2.5 ahead of Mets. We haven't hit the All-Star break. We got about a month left until the All-Star break.
Right.
Who knows?
Right. Exactly. What's your first takeaway of the week?
My first takeaway is something that's like maybe a lot of people are going to look at and say, why the heck is that your takeaway? But Kyle Schwarber is starting to trend upward. Now, I know we're only 5 days into June at this point in the show when this is recorded.
Right.
But he's batting .263. He has 6 ribbies, 2 homers, 5 hits in 19 at-bats. He's not playing amazing this year. He's really struggled. He's batting .172, 15 homers, 33 RBIs, 732 OPS is what confuses me. It's just like his slugging is there, right? Like his slugging is there.
Right.
But it's like, I guess more or less, and the reason why I bring up Kyle Schwarber is like, are we going to see a second half of Kyle Schwarber that, we're hoping to see? That to see World Series Kyle Schwarber, last year in the playoffs Kyle Schwarber, like he has the potential. It's just about is this starting to trend upward? And if I'm the Phillies, I hope so, because the Phillies have looked atrocious this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had them winning the division at the beginning of the year. Like on paper, when I looked at everybody on paper, I knew the Braves were going to be good, but I thought Trey Turner was and I said this to you and the guys several times, that I thought Trey Turner was like, okay, they made a magical run to the World Series last year, and Turner's the exact right piece for them, in the fact that he could give them a little bit of everything and kind of fill in the gaps. They have played it's been absolutely terrible, and Schwarber's numbers overall are a reflection of that. Now, is Kyle Schwarber going to get up to being a 260, 270 hitter? No, he's not. That's not who Kyle Schwarber is. He's really not like I said before, he's really not a 4 average hitter. He's always going to be a long ball guy because it's just who he is. But I think his recent at-bats have been looking better. His recent games have been better. And I think it's trending upward. And I think you can get him to be a 240, 250 hitter, which is still a massive improvement upon what he started off doing, and can be a massive help to that Phillies team, if only to spark them.
I mean, his career average is 230, 229, actually.
Yeah.
With some years in between. But, I mean, with the Cubs, he was around 250. He had one good year in Boston. The second half of the year at Boston, we had 291, which is what got him that contract.
Right.
Last year he struggled. The whole Phillies team struggled, and we saw them come out of nowhere and make the playoffs, and then ultimately go on and beat the Braves, beat the Mets, and who they beat? They beat the Padres, and then went to the World Series, lost to the Astros. So, can they do it? Yes, I think the MLB right now is so up in the air right now when it comes down to it. They could make a run right now in the wild card. They're 4 out with the Diamondbacks and Dodgers right now, and the Marlins in contention. So who knows? Is it 3 wild card spots?
Yes. Did they do the 3 wild card spot this year? I don't even remember. I know it's a wild card series now for at least 2 of them.
Well, because it says plus, yeah, it is because it's plus at 0.5 for the Marlins right now. So there's 3 wild card spots. So
Okay.
yeah, so I mean, right now the Schwarber is just struggling, but I see I watched the last couple games, watched some highlights from the last couple games. It seems like he's starting to see the ball better, and I hope for him, that he does because I enjoy watching him play. Mike, what is your second take of the week?
My second take of the week, unfortunately, is a sad one, which is that unfortunately it appears Steven Strasburg's career may be over.
Yeah.
He has reportedly very severe nerve damage that he's collected over the years of pitching that's making it very difficult for him to even throw. Apparently he had been ramping up at the Nationals training facility to try to make a comeback, and they just recently had to shut him down due to another flare of that nerve damage. And so I find myself thinking roughly what I thought when Alex Smith recovered from that scary necrosis and leg break he had. Just hang it up. It's okay. Don't do any more damage to your body.
Yeah.
I understand the drive and the will to play and the dream is still there, but you've had a great career, not as long as obviously you would have hoped, but when you've been on the mound, you've been elite, and so there's a time we all get told we can't play the game someday. Some of it's when we're 18, some of it's when we're 40, but we're all told. Yeah. So it's sad to see, but.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately he's been hindered with injuries his entire career from when he got brought up from the Syracuse Chiefs all the way up to, the Nationals. His first season with the Nationals went out with Tommy John. It's just he's been hindered with injuries. The only time he was healthy is when they won the World Series, ironically. And, that's, it's sad to see, but I agree with you. At some point, you just got to hang it up. And he was a dominant pitcher. Unfortunately, he probably is not going to make the Hall of Fame. Just because of injuries. He could have been, probably should have been, but
right.
But yeah,
Hall of Fame level.
I don't think he's going to make that. But ultimately, hats off to him in his career. Wish him the best. If it's done, it's done. Just got to hang it up. At the end of the day, I kind of get the drive and get the will to play. It takes a lot, and once you accept it and move on, and he's still going to have a career in baseball, coaching, whatever he wants to do.
I'm sure.
Because it wasn't more or less he wasn't good when he was out there. It was almost like Greg Oden, right? Like Greg Oden was great when he was on the court, but was so hindered by injuries that just ended his career in the first few years, right? So, that's unfortunate what happened to Strasburg at this point.
Yeah, definitely. Elite, I agree. Elite Hall of Fame level talent when he was able to pitch. It's just he wasn't able to pitch that often.
Right.
It sucks. It definitely sucks. What is your second takeaway of the week?
Well, we're going to stem on some injuries right now. Jacob DeGrom has gone on to the 60-day IL right now. So he has now entered the 60-day IL as of today and June 5th. And this guy just going off of Steven Strasburg, this might be another amazing talent that we may never get to really see him consistently pitch years and years and years. And it's unfortunate because, now he's more testing planned, and I wouldn't even say that the Rangers got hustled because there is such a high ceiling for him. There's like you when you get Jacob DeGrom, you're thinking, oh my God. But unfortunately, he's not getting any younger. He's been dwindled with injuries his entire career. He's never been able to stay healthy. He's 34. And it's just like, dude, at one point or another, are you going to say enough's enough, And when he's out there, he's dominant. But when he's not, you can't be dominant from the bench.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you look at the real full healthy season he was able to put together. He won a Cy Young. Yeah. He put up historic numbers. Like, the dude is a talent. I agree. Like, the Rangers you can't say the Rangers got hustled on that deal because, first of all, they signed the deal knowing fully well that Jacob DeGrom could get hurt at any moment, that he had injury issues. But yeah, the upside of having him on your team, honestly, the upside of having him on your team, even if he's not pitching, the knowledge and the, skill that he has to be able to boost an entire pitching staff, a la what he was able to do when healthy with the Mets, is incredible. So yeah, he's the type of guy you take that risk with. And
Right.
I hate to see him go on the IL again because
Yeah.
I love watching him pitch.
On the contrary part is that the Rangers are now 3.5 up and have been playing amazing baseball. 8-2 in their last 10. Their run differential is plus 152, which is the best in MLB. So the run differential is plus 152. They're 19-8 at home, 19-12 on the road. So they're getting the job done without their ace, and
Right.
that says a lot about the team around them, that if he can come back this season at some point, they could be a very scary team going into the postseason.
Oh yeah, you add a healthy playoff Jacob DeGrom to this team, they can make some serious.
Excuse me.
Definitely.
So, Mike, moving on to your third take of the week. What is it?
My third take of the week is a congratulations. I want to say congrats to Jon Singleton, making it back to the big leagues for the first time since 2015. He was the first player, actually. This is a dude, one of those dudes that has battled to get back to the majors after being a top prospect. He was the first player to ever sign a multi-year extension with an MLB team before making his MLB debut.
Yeah.
So we talk about the will and drive to continue to play. He had that. He kept the grind up and finally made it back to the majors. So congrats to him. I hope to see some success for him.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's really awesome. I'm not familiar with Jon Singleton, but it's really awesome. What was he in the minors? Could you give our viewers a little context on that?
Yes. Let me pull it up to give you some more context. But yeah, he's been going through the minors for a long time. At one point he was supposed to be. Do you remember the Astros when Altuve was younger, when they first moved to the AL? Remember Chris Carter, the big dude who always hit home runs? Carter was supposed to be the fill-in, as I recall, for Singleton to end up becoming their everyday major league first baseman. Okay. He was supposed to be for them a younger version of what Yuli Gurriel ended up being. That all around the field spray hitter with power and average. He's now with the Brewers. He had started with the Phillies and was prior to the 2011 season named their second best prospect by Baseball of America. In July of that year, he was involved in the Hunter Pence trade from the Phillies, the Astros to the Phillies when the Phillies were trying to make another run.
Yeah.
Appeared in the Futures game. Yeah, and he battled through the Astro system up and down and up and down and up and down, sent waivers, went AA, ended up in Mexico in 2020 and 2021, and now is back. Got signed in 21 by the Brewers, and now has finally battled his way through their minor league system to make the major league team.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, good for him. It just shows that, it shows to a lot of the guys, it's not over just because you go back down to the minors. And, that's, unfortunately, a lot of guys get sent back down. They don't know how to mentally fix it, right? And you got to just continue to grind, man. The more you put in there, the more you're going to get out of it. And my dad always taught me that, don't take it as a defeat when you get sent somewhere or you get demoted or whatnot. Just take it as what it is. Take it on the chin. Could you have done something better?
Right.
Is it on the team? And that's where it comes down to, is ownership, self-ownership, because you can sit here and put all this blame on other people, but deep down, is it you? Could you have done something different?
Right.
And if it takes a true person and a true confident person to say, yeah, I sucked. I wasn't hitting, had a lot of errors, wasn't playing to my potential. And that's where players need to get over that hump and to back on the field in a major league roster. And until you own that and put your pride to the side, as it said, that's when you're going to be able to get back up into the majors and get to a major league roster. Because it's one thing to play well, right? But a manager wants to see a professional on their roster. They don't want to just see, some kid, especially if he's older. You're not a kid anymore, right? You shouldn't be making these mistakes. You're a professional. We're going to treat you as a professional. This is a job. You perform, you get rewarded with a position on this team. You don't perform, you get demoted. It's just like anywhere else. So
exactly.
Hats off to Jon Singleton. Hope he has a long career and continues to strive up and always remember where he had to go back up to where he is.
Definitely, 100%. What's your third takeaway of the week?
My third take is Mr. Albert Pujols named special assistant to MLB commissioner, which this guy can't stay away from baseball, no matter how much he wants to. So hats off to Mr. Albert Pujols. He is now the special assistant to the MLB commissioner, which I think he'll do great things. He's always been great in communities and helping out. And I think he's got the younger youth in him to help enhance the game and give his advice in there. I'm not sure what his role would be. I couldn't really get a gauge for what that will be, but I'm assuming it's growing the game at a youth level and throughout the country in a better way, so people can love baseball as much as he did growing up. But shout out to him. I think it's a perfect person to be a special assistant, whatever his role it is. I expect Hall of Fame type results from him.
Yeah, I've heard special assistant to the commissioner, just like special assistant to the GM or whatever. It's a technical title. I'm not sure. I would imagine, that his role will be mainly brand ambassador, being an ambassador for the game too, especially probably a lot of the youth movement that they've been doing as far as like, the youth baseball academies in the Latin American countries and things like that. Yeah, I think he's a perfect guy to help grow the game and to be able to, in the, special assistant or advising the commissioner role, just be like, okay, Albert, you went to a camp in Arizona. What did you see? How can we make the game better? And like report his findings of like, well, kids are, they have fun with this. They're struggling with this. Maybe we should push this, blah, blah, things like that. But yeah, awesome choice. I think he's perfect. I figured he'd end up back with the Cardinals, but the league has made a great choice with him.
And he's just a great voice for the game. Everyone around sports in general loves Albert, loves talking to him, loves being around the guy. And there's no one that should represent Major League Baseball in a certain way like that. And I think it takes some sort of pride for the commissioner to say, I want your take on this.
Right.
Because he doesn't need to. But because the commissioner works on behalf of the owners if people don't understand that. So the commissioner works on behalf of the players, but also is employed by the owners, is voted in by the owners. Right. So if you didn't know that takes a lot for the owners and everybody to say, yes, we want him to be the special assistant to you, because he can give a voice. He can give a voice in how to grow the game and how to become it. And I think that's where they're going with, right? He's just enough old school to keep the old school tradition, but just enough new school to see where it should go. So hats off to him.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
Mikey, what's your fourth take? Round 4. What's your fourth take of the week?
Fourth take of the week, we take ourselves out to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim and a new potential sensation that they have. Yes, they have Shohei Ohtani. Yes, they have Mike Trout. But I don't know if you've seen him, John. They have a new relief pitcher by the name of Ben Joyce out of the University of Tennessee. They just picked him, I believe, last year in the draft, and he has been fast-tracked to the major leagues. Granted, I think he was at Tennessee for 4 or 5 years, so he is like 23 years old. But this guy throws gas. He threw, I believe, 14 pitches in his MLB debut, 11 of them 100 miles an hour or higher. Wow. Now, yes, a lot of people now do throw very hard. A lot of guys don't throw that hard, that consistently, consecutively. Like he was hitting, I want to say 4 or 5 of them at least hit 102. But what impresses me the most is not only is it that fast, his stuff moves. He's got like
Is he the guy that I saw on Sports Center where like his he throws like a 95-mile-an-hour curveball or something like that or whatever?
yeah. He throws I want to say his curveballs. He throws like a 90 something, 92, 93 mile an hour slider. He throws like 100-mile-an-hour sinker
Wow.
that moves like 2 feet.
Wow.
It's nuts. Go. Anybody out there if you haven't gone watched Ben Joyce highlights in college and now in the pros, go watch him. The dude's insane, and I think he's got a chance to be a real beast on the mound for the Angels or whoever, and he ends up playing for throughout his career.
Wow. That's awesome. I mean, that's great because he's a starter, right? He's not a
he's a relief pitcher.
Oh, he's a relief pitcher. So, that's good for their bullpen ultimately. So,
yeah,
it's not a bad thing for the Angels because they need a bullpen help. So that's good.
Yeah. He's the type. I think in Tennessee he started as a starter, and Tennessee slowly turned him into a relief pitcher, and MLB teams saw him as that essentially a right-handed Chapman, like that guy that you just bring in for one inning to just pump fastballs. Except for unlike Chapman, like I said, he's got stuff. Even his fastballs are breaking, so it's hard as hell to hit this dude.
Yeah, but ultimately, like Chapman, now everyone throws over 100,
right,
and whatnot. So when it comes down to it, you can't just rely on that, right? It's got to have some stuff,
right?
So,
and I think he's got the potential,
right?
What is your fourth takeaway of this week?
My fourth takeaway is Tampa Bay is okay. They are fine. Everyone keeps going, oh my God, the Rays have finally come to their senses. They are the best team in baseball right now. They are 43-19. They have a plus 125 run differential. There's 26-6 at home. Their away record is okay. They've been 6-4 in their last one, but they have 12 losses in May. It was going to happen at some point, and it's really not that bad of a record. I think they went 19-12. No, I think they went 17-12 or 18-12 in May. But still, it's fine. They're fine. They are okay. And they are a very good baseball club. And Kevin Cash has that team rolling right now.
Yeah. Go ask the A's, Royals, Tigers, or Rockies if they would like to go 17 or 18-12 in a given month. I bet they say yes.
Yeah, it wasn't the best month that they've had since the year, right? Because they had that great April, right?
Right.
But they are okay. They're a good team. They play well. They do well against division opponents. They have Wander Franco, who's a lightning bolt. They got Glass now coming back here soon, starting to throw live games. Once they get him back, boy, that's gonna be some stuff. So they are okay.
Yeah. They'll be fine. They were gonna have every team has a bad month. They're fine. They're gonna be
if their bad month is 18-12 or whatever, 15-12, whatever it might be, it's okay. They're above 500 in the month. So just don't let it have repeatedly. Like the Orioles are pushing, but they're not. It's been 3 to 5 games out for teams in the East, but the East is pretty. They were showing the stat the other day that if Boston was in like 3 of the other 5 divisions, let me look at it right here. If Boston was in the if Boston was in the Central, they'd be in second. If they were in the NL Central, they'd be in third. So it shows that they're better than most teams. And the AL East has some of the best teams in baseball right now. But yeah, they're okay.
Yeah, they're fine. They'll be fine.
Mike, what's your final take of the week?
My cinco take of the week is overall, now that we're 2 months into the season with these new rules, with seeing what the game is developing into and stuff, I just find myself sitting back and thinking, baseball's been fun. There's been a lot of fun things, happening this year. A lot of great, individual performances and great team performances. And like you said, the AL East being so competitive, the Rangers breaking out in the West, the Pirates being good in the Central, the Diamondbacks being good in the West, the East, the NL East continuously fluctuating. Like, baseball's just been fun this year, and I'm very excited to see what the rest of this year is gonna, have in store for us.
Yeah, I mean, other than the Braves in the East, there in the NL, that division's pretty close. But yeah, I mean, it's been a fun year. I mean, teams are not. How do I say? There's not that dominant team, and that's what we're seeing in all sports. And we say it, and people keep saying it. Like, it probably are annoyed with me at this point. There's a lot of parity in baseball right now. There's a lot of good players, and I think the biggest thing is the farm system is getting better. Players are getting better in getting the call ups are being more dangerous now, in the sense of there could be someone that's taking your job in the AAA right now. So watch yourself. And I mean, we saw it with Aaron Hicks. He got released. You saw it with Gary Sanchez. Gets the boot, can't find a team since. If you're not willing to put the work in, and you're not willing, and I said this before, if you're not willing to do what you have to do, someone's going to take your spot, because these organizations are tired of being in the basement. Of course, the Royals and the A's are going through a tough time right now, and the A's is an organization as it is. But when it comes down to it, a lot of these teams are like, I'm tired of being in the dumpster. I'm tired of being in the dumpster of the Major League Baseball. Enough's enough. Like, we got a good farm system. We're going to build them up. We're going to, whoever's willing to play, which is a type of baseball I like to see. Like, if you're good and you're hitting well, you're playing. Part of my language, fuck all the statistics and all the analytic bullshit. You can't always do everything by analytics, and I think that's where teams go wrong. And I've been saying that all along. Analytics are great to help enhance the game, but it can't just be the game.
Right.
You can't win a baseball game just off analytics. You have to have some common sense. Guys getting blasted at the mound. Oh, well, usually on his fifth batter, he's good. If he's getting blasted and he doesn't have it, he's not going to have it at his fifth batter. And by that time, it's too late. Now you bring your bullpen guy in with the bases loaded. So that's where the common sense has to come in. I see that being more and more common sense.
Yeah.
And I think the new rules have helped that common sense be quicker. And it showed weaknesses of pitchers, ultimately.
Right. Yes. It has to be. The speed of the game going up has not only made it more exciting on the field, it's forced managers and GMs and front offices to have to think faster about what they're doing. Have to make decisions and have backup plans for your backup plans.
Right.
And really make those tough decisions at a more rapid rate. I agree.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
All right, take us on home. What is your fifth takeaway of the week?
Well, I touched on it here a minute ago, and the Oakland A's went from a sure thing in Vegas to now 50-50. They are now 50-50 going to land in the Sporting Tribune is also reporting that the Oakland A's Vegas bill is a 50-50 shot, and quote unquote, it doesn't seem like a priority. So a tweet came out today, June 5th at 4:12, saying the Oakland Athletics, and the tweet came from Las Vegas locally. The Oakland Athletics $380 million Las Vegas Stadium subsidy has gone from done deal to maybe, according to two sources in the Nevada state government.
Interesting.
Which is very concerning. And that's why I say, as the A's, I don't really blame the players, because if your front office can't put shit together and figure shit out, or is all in scrambles right now, how the hell are you supposed to put something on the field?
Right.
No, exactly. So, it's very terrible in this sense, in my opinion, as an organization. These owners should be ashamed of themselves to have this type of thing go over their head like this. It should not be as public as we're seeing. And you have 5 months during the offseason to get this shit done, and you're waiting this long. I know a lot of it has to go down to taxpayers and everything like us working folk like you and me,
Mhm.
are going to get penalized to it. But, how does it go from a done deal to now, you know, who knows if it's going to go through? And now it's not even a priority.
Right. Yeah. No. That's my would be my main question is okay. What happened? Was it on the A side? Was it on the Nevada side? Was it on both? Is there miscommunication? Is it about wording? Is it about the money? Like, what's happening?
I guarantee it has to do something with. I mean, because wherever they're building it, it's got to be tax free.
Right.
Because on it's native land where the strip is, where the MGM
Right.
Grand is.
Right.
So it's got to be something to do with that, and I don't think it has anything to do with the taxpayers. But it's just kind of disheartening as an A's fan. You're seeing your team move and enhance and be better and get maybe more attraction there. You could attract guys like Chris Bryant back there. Come home. Play
Right.
baseball in Vegas. Bryce Harper, come home.
Right.
Those type
Exactly.
of things. So, it's very disheartening as the MLB. It looks embarrassing in my opinion. And how the commissioner or anybody hasn't stepped up and done something is kind of disheartening in my opinion, because it's like this is looking bad that the team stinks and these players are suffering because of it, because the organization as a whole can't put their shit together.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It seems the league is content to allow the A's to sink with their ship and
Yeah.
just move on. That's just what it seems to be. They seem to have given up on any amount of help for the A's. Like, you guys figure it out. We got our own stuff to worry about. Like, you guys go figure it out. You're in flames right now, so we're not gonna. You just put yourself out.
Apparently, in this tweet, one reason the deal is much more unpopular among Nevada residents than the legislature had anticipated. Opinions submitted SB 509. This is from the Las Vegas locally. They tweeted out 72% are opposed to the bill, which will allow the stadium to be built. 26 are supporting it, and 0% are neutral. So there's a major difference in the whole opposing versus allowing. So
Right.
it doesn't look like it was ever 50-50 is my thought.
No, it was probably 50. It was probably 50-50 at minimum with the legislators themselves and all the strip owners. But the basic Nevada and Vegas residents, now they're like, well, wait a minute. So we got to fork over a vast majority of the money it's going to take to build this stadium, and they look terrible over there.
Yeah, I mean, eventually it's going to get done, regardless.
I think they're being Vegas.
It gets done no matter what, regardless. Right. I mean, people were opposing the Bills. The Bills just broke ground on their new $1.3 million or billion dollar stadium.
Yeah,
that's over $700 million more than what the Vegas one is cost. So, so it's going to be interesting to me personally, and I hope the A's figure it out, which they will. It'll get figured out. Eventually, there'll be a stadium there in 2 years. It'll break ground. But yeah, hopefully they figure that out. So that's my fifth take of the week.
That's a good one to close it out.
Yes, sir. Well, everyone, thank you for tuning in. It was a great week of baseball. We got another week. We'll be back here on our regular schedule here. Looking forward to watching the rest of this week. Make sure you go cast your vote when voting opens for MLB All-Star Game. And hopefully Cinco Squad, the rotation with Mike and John, will be there too. We might have some breaking news on that. Let's see. I wonder. So make sure you follow us below. Let us know what you guys think of our takes of the week. Give us your takes of the week. We'd love to hear it. And we'll be back here next week. Mike, any final thoughts?
I'm excited to see what the rest of the season's going to have. I'm excited to see week by week what this season brings. And let's go Yankees, because I'd like for them to keep this up, please.
Yeah, let's go Yanks, and hope everyone has a great rest of your week. Let's go baseball.